Hey kids, Inverted Cow here. Welcome back to Empyrion. As you can see, I have pretty much completed the heavy Starfighter. I have equipped and armed it as best as I want to, as good as I want to, put it that way. What I have on here is I've got little sentry turrets. These are point defense turrets, more or less just for dealing with space debris and drones and such like that. But there's 18 of them, I think. They're scattered on the wing pylons. I have yet to decide what I'm going to do with the painting on the hull itself, the primary hull, but I've left everything just a flat matte color. I put these antenna blocks on here because I like the way they look like little torpedo or missile type devices. Basically, it's like they're supposed to be missile launchers. Fire off missiles and away you go. Again, the 4 heavy cannons, and I fixed up the cockpit so that it's enclosed. I originally had it with double layers of armor glass with a third layer of one-way, what do you call them, the one-way heavy vents, or heavy, yeah. You couldn't see out. The tint on it was so strong, I turned the ship around, I was stared straight into the sun, and I could almost see this thin light glimmer. I'm not sure if I want to put something in between these two gun turrets, or I'm just going to stick a standard block in there. I don't know. But that's the completed Starfighter. Now, I'm not a big turret fan. Like, that's the whole point of this ship. It's not to have a whole bunch of gun turrets on it, which is really it's part of the reason I'm really kind of irritated with some of the rules on the server. You see, for this ship, it's this class size 1, which means I would be allowed to have the 2 pulse laser weapons. If you've ever used the pulse laser weapons, they are good against drones or lightly armored craft. For these rocket cannons, I can wipe out a space carrier in a matter of seconds. It's literally obliterated in a couple of shots. Yes, they are somewhat overpowered. I would probably even pare it down to just 2, although I do like the uniformity of 4. But the thing is, with the server, is you can have minigun and cannons. So I could literally cover this with, like, I got room here for 3 of each, or 3 miniguns or cannon turrets of some kind on the top, on the bottom. Actually, I don't know if I could do them on the bottom because I think it might be half slabs. Oh no, I don't. I could put 2 on the bottom, and I could put 2 on the sides, or even 3 on the sides, which means I could have these great cones of fire shooting through these protected slots, and that would be awesome. But I substantially dislike turreted weapons, because they're unreliable. These, I literally aim at what I'm shooting. I fire off a burst and fly off. Yes, that means that I might accidentally hit something a little bit more vital than just knocking out, waiting for gun turrets to blink away at random turrets and then switch the big problem I have is turreted weapons target. They'll target, say, this gun, but the ship will move a little bit over here, so then they'll target this gun. And the ship will move a little bit further, and then they'll target this gun. And then the ship will move a little bit further, they'll target this gun over here. But they won't actually shoot at any one of these weapons. They just sit there and keep randomly targeting stuff until finally they decide to shoot something. They basically just constantly pick items and randomly shoot stuff, and it's very, 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 very annoying. It's like I want to shoot, like with this, I know exactly where the core is on the NPC carrier. Usually about three shots, and I have completely obliterated the core and the entire cockpit area of the NPC carrier. If I sat there and waited for gun turrets to pick off all 8 gun turrets on the carrier, I'd be flying around the thing for about an hour. I don't want to spend an hour shooting an NPC. I'm hoping that today I'll get Spange will come on, hopefully, and I'd like to see if he'd like to do a little skirmish with this. We'll take it into creative mode. We'll go do a little head-to-head with one of his ships, one of his fighters. I want to see how fixed guns deals with his ships. And then I need to see what I can do about making this server legal. Because if I gotta rely on little pew-pew lasers, it's like, I might as well just, park this off in the desert, take the guns off, and just leave it. Because it won't be worth fighting with. It's a really great design. Very nice, handles very nicely. Its initial shakedown tour, I took it out for a flight around the planet and took out 2 carriers. I actually ran out of ammunition. Let these things here deal with the space drones, and I ran out of ammo for these. I lost 3 of those gun turrets. And I think I had a decorative radar dish on the top here, and that was knocked out. But let's take a look inside. As you can see, I have no decorations inside here. It still is very matte. I need to find somebody who's very good with internal decorations. If I turn off my, whoops, oh that was nasty. I turn off my headlight and power the ship on. I have internal lighting in here. This lever here is for the ramp underneath. So if you go down and you open this door, there's a ramp underneath here for access onto the ship. That lever is to lower the ramp. The only cargo I have is literally two cargo boxes and 4 large ammo boxes. Oxygen is 2 large O2 tanks. I have a tier 2 fridge and single toilet. On the top half, we have a repair station, a armor locker and oxygen station, and I've got my warp tank with 2 RCS units protected by another layer of wall. The only other thing I have to put into this ship is a medic station. And that's simply because if I die in space, I'd like to actually be able to respawn on the ship. I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to tuck that in, although I might do is this wall back, or I might just put it in here beside the RCS unit, so you actually start kind of right here, and then you can come down and resume the combat. Now we'll just jump into this here real quick. From our third person perspective, oh, and it stayed locked in this time, thank you. As you can see, it's not a big ship. I mean, it's bigger than the starter vessel by, I don't know, about 2, maybe 3 times. But most of it is actually the armor shielding. Vertical flight. She has ample thrusters on it. If you look underneath the wings, you'll see there are 2 small, see if I can look at these, there's 2 small downward thrusters on the lower wing and 3 on the upper wing, and there is a couple of downward thrusters on the top wings. If I push down, you should see them light up. Let's see if I can get a look on the inside here. You'll see those ones there. They are tucked in really tight against the edge. They are still visible. They are within server parameters of having of being visible from the outside or visible, and having no more than 1 block protecting them. These ones are actually completely exposed. The rest of the internal thrusters are literally completely exposed. There is no coverings on them. There's no protective shielding. The only other place there's protective shielding on the thrusters is, of course, on your primary main thrusters. I have placed what would be sort of a directional fin. It's the thinnest layer combat steel block, and it's back to back to give it a taper edge. Combat steel in the middle, and then it's just been ringed by combat steel, and that's basically it. It's inset by 1 block, but it is still visible, server rules. And on the 4 nacelle thrusters, they are just covered with a single armored window vane. Now your reverse thrusters, I have 4 or 2 placed in each wing, but they are the smallest size thruster. They're actually the little tiny single size block thruster, and again they are also protected by the armor window block, the shutter block. Now, of course, trying to shoot one, if you tried to shoot it straight on, you're going to hit the shielding. In fact, that is with all of the thrusters except for the primary drive thrusters. You will hit shielding if you try to hit it straight on. And of course, if you hit it from an angle, you can quite easily get shots in on thrusters, but trying to hit something moving at a thin, narrow angle is going to make it very difficult. The soft spot, of course, is the cockpit. Because I wasn't able to put it 3 layers thick like I had wanted, they really need a transparent glass. It's basically something that is completely visible through, like a complete invisible glass. This tinted window is it is annoying, but that's where the weak point is. Of course, is the cockpit itself. First person perspective, of course, you can't fire in atmosphere, but it flies very nicely. First person perspective, it rolls very nicely. I was afraid it might actually be rolling a little too aggressively if I hit the roll on it because of the number of thrusters it has. it doesn't correct right away. And I firmly believe that thrusters and RCS units combined are what affects your rate of roll. So we'll switch our view here. We'll be in cockpit mode. Now, if you target, there's a target. If you target a craft, you can strafe like you can with a fighter. And switch views for maneuvering. Thrusters and switch views. And roll. As you can see, the sentry turns, the point defense turns. I've targeted them to go after weapon emplacements only. In case you're wondering, I am very low on ammunition for the point defense turns. I have none in inventory at this time. Hadn't intended on taking this into a combat situation, so shot these gun turns here. Shot and it missed. Right. Ridge section. You can hear the clicking of the gun. Now, of course, the problem with fighting these carriers, and this has been an issue I've had since they started, these space drones, you shoot one drone, oh, come on, I had that guy in my gun sights. Okay. Second. core, in case you're wondering where to hit these things for the core. The problem is, of course, this thing will just constantly puke out space drones after you have destroyed it. I will usually end up with, like, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them here. And there's not much you can do about it. You just literally have to sit there and kill them until they stop producing. Which, of course, costs a lot of ammunition. This is where I normally just park the vessel and let the gun turrets just eat them. But that's the fighting capabilities of this vessel. I am, like I said, I am going to see if I can talk to Spange and see if he wants to do a little scrap later on here. We'll take it into creative mode. We'll go into Gladiator Dome and fight it out. Let's see how that goes. Still not entirely sure. I might pull those purple RCSs out and go back to just using a single, or go back to using the other type of RCSs. I find it is just a wee bit over maneuverable. It over controls very easily. Let's see if we can adjust our line of sight back just a wee bit. I'm going to fly back to planet. I'm going to go pick up some ammunition to shoot those drones with. Because that's very annoying. And yeah, if I can talk to Spange, then perfect. If not, well, hey, I'll see you all later. So good night for now, kids.